Live from San Diego, California, this is the San Diego Sports Junkies, a show for fans by the fans, with Josh Taylor, Justin Smead, Jason Eitzmo, and Mike Maciejewski. We're talking Chargers, Padres, and Aztec sports. It's time to let your voice be heard.
Okay, the easiest way to say it is in all phases we got beat today. Number of turnovers on offense. Couldn't stop them the first 7 series of the game. Kicking game, not good enough all around. So I'll leave it at that.
Did you imagine that with the time off, with the urgency, this would happen?
No, that's the furthest thing in my mind that would ever happen. I think we were out-coached, outplayed. It all starts with me as the head coach. We got to do a better job in all areas. And so, to what was at stake and with the break we had and what was, going into an opportunity to win a football game on the road against a good opponent from the very first series on offensively, penalties, not converting on 4th and 1 with a great opportunity there, run through on the backside, didn't block it. So it's just a number of things went wrong from the very first series on, and then we couldn't stop them.
So you hear it from Mike McCoy. I mean, obviously frustration all the way around. I mean, not only from, the fans, but the coaches, the players. This game, leading up to this game, losing to Kansas City, losing to the Broncos, and then just getting absolutely demoralized in Miami is not a good trend.
Yeah.
I was looking at, and Justin and I were talking earlier today, Phillip Rivers in that Broncos game getting frustrated, yelling in his helmet. Just when the positiveness, the 5-game winning streak, when you have positive things going, it builds momentum. But as soon as you have some negativity rolled in, that negativity can start rolling in a bad direction. And we didn't necessarily hit rock bottom, but that game against Miami was really, really bad.
I disagree. I wanted to tell everybody, welcome to rock bottom, boys, because we're there right now. Yeah. The only way it can get lower is if we, after the bye, go get it handed to us by the Raiders.
Right.
But I got to think that when we look back on this Super Bowl year, we're going to all say, well, do you remember when we, right before the bye, got killed down in Miami? You remember that? Yeah. That will be our rock bottom for this season.
I couldn't help you guys. First of all, thank you, Darren, for filling in on Sunday's pregame show. You did awesome. I love Darren's take as usual.
Yeah, we had a good time.
I couldn't help but notice the opening clip for your show that morning was "Time to Eat." Time to eat. It was more like time to sleep.
Yeah,
and they never got off the plane. I can't tell you how upset, how embarrassed I was as a fan to even watch that. Like Josh just touched on, you feel like you had a little momentum. Obviously, you came off a couple losses. The Bronco game, I understand. The Kansas City, we probably should have won that game. You go into Miami feeling good because you had 10 days. You had 10 days to think about it, and and all week, what was it? This is a big game going into the playoffs, making that playoff push. Miami's a contender. That's the type of team we need to handle. And really make a mark on them and show them, hey, we're a 6-3 ball club, not a 5-4 ball club, because it's a huge difference from 6-3 to 5-4.
Yeah, and we are not that. Miami is not that much better. It's funny. You had mentioned Darren was on the show. He kept preaching the whole time. Miami is legit. Mm-hmm. Miami is a legit team. Now he thought that the Chargers could beat them,
right, but
they weren't a walk in the park. He just kept saying, Miami's legit. Miami's legit. Miami is a legit team, but they're not that much better than us.
No, but the Chargers went in there demoralized. You can tell in their makeup when they walked on the field, they didn't have the fire, the passion, the energy. Some of the players are hanging their heads, and it's like Somebody, I was listening to a show earlier today, and a caller's calling in, and it's like they're only down 14-0. How many times have you watched Phillip Rivers come back down from 14-0 and blow a team away?
Right.
And it was like at 14-0, it just looked like the offense as a whole was just giving up, and that's not this team. But the question is, what is the truth of this team? Early on we played, a fairly favorable schedule. We were 5-1. We battled injuries. Then we play 3 consecutive teams that are arguably playoff contending teams: Kansas City Chiefs, Denver Broncos, and the Miami Dolphins, and they whipped our ass.
Yeah. No,
and so
I have to give you your due, because a couple weeks ago you preached, hey, have the injuries caught up. Yeah. And I was kind of an advocate on, hey, that's not an excuse, and it really isn't. But looking at that last game, guys, and I told Josh this over the phone today, you got to remember, you're playing with a backup center, backup right guard, backup left guard, and a guy in Fluker who probably shouldn't be playing tackle. So you put all these things into place. I know. I'm not going to dive into that right now. We can touch on that later. But I'm telling you, but the offensive line is a big issue right now, guys. You'd have to agree?
Absolutely.
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
Huge issue.
Huge issue.
Offensive and defensive line, both.
Right. So I wanted to give you praise, because now I'm starting to get it. Now the injuries to me, and I know that's not an excuse, but at some point it has to be a focus of concern.
Absolutely.
And you're getting no push with your line. They're getting blown off the ball by 3 yards, and poor Brandon Oliver, God love him, he's getting drilled in the backfield with no opportunity to run.
Now we're all looking forward to Ryan Matthews coming back, but let's be honest, with that line, I don't want to say with that line, but with the way the line is playing, he doesn't stand much of a chance either, because Brandon Oliver, he's not getting that much room to run.
Bottom line, guys, you win and lose in the trenches. Yep. Offensive line and defensive line is what has to control the game, and we're not doing that. The offensive line is getting beat. Phillip Rivers looked all of 2012 in that game against Miami. Looked like he was running for his life. He was playing scared. He was
not playing scared. Trying to do too much.
Throwing the ball up for grabs. Stuff that he was doing in 2012, which he hasn't done for the last year and a half.
Forcing the issue.
On the flip side, our defensive line. Kendall Reyes, statistically, the worst defensive lineman in the NFL the past 6 weeks. My concern is, we're not getting a push, and our cornerbacks are getting torched because of it. Yeah. So I posed this question, and I called into 1360 and talked to the Cannons earlier, and I posed them the same question. We have 2 weeks to work on this team to get it fixed, to right the ship. With the personnel that we have, would the Chargers defense be better suited to shift to a 4-3 defense, putting a Dwight Freeney in the dirt where he's comfortable, or do we continue to try to make this work with the 3-4 defense? Because the reason I say that, the 3-4 defense, you have to have the personnel. You have to have the beef on the defensive line to destroy the pocket,
You're right.
and we do not have that.
But the 4-3 also requires a stud middle linebacker. Who's your stud middle linebacker?
Touché.
It's not Donald Butler.
But it's something that needs to be seriously talked about.
Let me ask you this real quickly. When was the last time you saw Dwight Freeney drop back into coverage?
Yeah, he's always got a hand.
When was the last time you saw him drop back into coverage?
I've never seen him as a.
We are running a 4-3.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. They're calling it a 3-4. You can't just completely shift your defensive philosophy in the middle of a season. People think it's so easy to go from 3-4, 4-3. You got to remember, defenses they run a lot of different base packages anyways. But Dwight Freeney, I can't remember him dropping back into coverage. When he's in there, we're basically running a 4-3 anyways.
Right.
One of the things that I had tweeted out during the game was the Chargers need to either rush 2 and drop back 9, or rush 9 and drop back 2. Yeah. Because what they're doing right now, they don't have enough people back in coverage, and they're not getting any pressure. And before the game, when Darren and I were doing the pregame show, I kept saying the Chargers have a history, and I stole this from Jake, by the way, because Jake said it before me. The Chargers have a history of making not great quarterbacks look great.
Dan Marino-esque.
And they made him look great.
Did you ever,
in Miami?
Besides the one play where, surprise, surprise, Donald Butler got the sack, where Legion got the hands to the face penalty. I don't remember us ever. I mean, just about any National Football League quarterback can hit all their receivers when they don't have to worry about pressure at all.
So, there's a couple things that can be fixed. Missed tackles can be fixed. The improvement of, bringing back potential players a la Manti Te'o, Melvin Ingram, Jerry Atachu, Jaleel Day, Jason Verrett. Missed tackles can be fixed. The penalties can be fixed. But what can't be fixed is what we thought was great depth. We thought that this team had great depth, and for the first 6 games, it was next man up, and it was playing out well. But as these guys now had to be in that starter's role 100% of the time, you're starting to see our weakness.
That's it. That's it, Josh. I think my mindset's that exactly. You're asking guys that aren't normally starters to do it week in, week out. Eventually, they're going to run out of a little gas. These guys, I don't want to sit here and harp on injuries, but Rich Ornberger, I'm sorry. I like him, and I think he's a stud. I think he's feasible. He's okay.
Let's remember one thing about Rich Ornberger is he's got a back injury right now.
Right.
He's playing through a back injury. I don't think we're getting the Rich Ornberger that we had last season because he actually played very well when he was healthy. But this guy, he's not practicing, which is hurting, but he's not practicing because he's hurting.
But regardless of all that, Chad Reinhardt, who's the other guy? Troutman. They run Chris Watt out there in and out. It just is not what we're used to as fans, and people want to point the finger at certain areas of the team, and he said the trenches, and that's exactly where it starts.
I'm going to tell you, I had, from the last game, I had 3 bright spots on the game. Chris Watt was one of them, not because I thought he played great, because I really liked how chippy he was out there. I liked how he was out there and fighting the whole game long.
Right.
Now, whether or not he played great, I didn't stare at him the whole game. I thought he was a bright spot. Another bright spot in the game, Keenan Allen. I thought Keenan Allen played very well. Was out there battling for the balls. He was out there. I think he's played fantastic this season. To be honest,
I'm glad you brought that up because I think Keenan Allen has been given a lot of grief because he hasn't put up the touchdowns, hasn't put up the quote-unquote numbers that we saw last year, but he's doing the dirty work.
Yes.
Like you said. He's making the blocks. He's making plays that doesn't show up in the stat book that still makes him a great wide receiver.
Absolutely.
In addition to that, and I want to get back kind of
Let me give you one more bright spot real quick.
Okay.
Chris Davis. Return. Chris.
Davis
I gotta
or
say
Davies?
his name. I gotta say his name right one time. At
Davies.
Show.
Yeah.
Chris Davies. That's the only time I'll say it right at the show. Chris Davis. When was the last time we saw a return guy who looked like? Now, first of all, we got it out past the 20, which I don't ever remember seeing this season.
All
a couple
year.
times.
Yeah.
Chris Davis could take it. He looks like the type of guy that could take it to the house. He looked like he was not afraid. He was, now of course he got tackled, but I was really happy to see somebody back there returning the ball who looked interested in actually gaining some yards instead of just going up there and kind of slowing down and falling down around the 15 or the 20.
Bright spots for me, there were none.
I know.
I'm serious. 37-0. So I'm sure certain guys, that first drive, guys, when they came out, and they looked pretty good.
They
looked
driving
great.
it.
And then they go for it on fourth, which I'm fine with. I'm totally fine with. You're on the road.
Right.
You want to make a statement, but you in the line and then Brandon Oliver gets knocked back 3 yards.
Before we pick apart the play call, which I get so tired of people saying, why'd they do it? Let me tell you
That's
something.
not what I'm doing.
I know you're not.
Okay.
Any play that they called that doesn't work, because if they ran a toss sweep, they'd say, you only need a yard.
Yeah.
Why didn't you do that? If they threw a pass, they'd say, why are you throwing it? It only need a yard. They run it up the middle. The reason why that play got stopped is because there was no blocking on the backside. Right. That guy ran through, and I might have been able,
failed assignment.
to make that tackle. It was
where I have an issue like that. You're on the road in a hostile environment against a good team. You get the points and you get out of there.
I didn't have a problem with the call.
I didn't have it either.
I like the aggressiveness
because
of the call.
If you don't go for it, people are going to be bitching anyway.
If they miss the field goal,
or just like you said, why run up the middle? Well, why play action pass and dump it off and the guy drops the pass? It just that's how it goes. You get blamed for everything as a play caller.
Right.
Really quick in the Twitter sphere, Geppetto wants to know: did anyone see any adjustments on either offense or defense coming out of halftime? I think that's a great question because there was no improvement. we played shitty in the first half. We come out of the break. We played shitty in the second half. There was no improvement whatsoever. We continued to get our ass handed to us in the second half.
It didn't help that Tannehill and the boys got their offense back on the field right away.
And they just drove right
And the
down.
defense had no answer whatsoever.
I
Isn't
give
it funny
mad
that-
props to them because they never took their foot off the
No.
gas, and they just kept throwing the ball. And
Isn't it funny that every time we lose that coin flip to start the game and we don't defer to the second half, we lose that game. We've lost every game that we've started with the ball.
Portland brings something up. I disagree with it. It says, anyone else notice all teams have to do is get Rivers mad. Once he's mad, his game is gone. I actually don't agree with that. I do see we see him. They show him getting mad more when they're losing.
Right.
You know, when it doesn't work out.
No, but here's the thing with Rivers, and I can attest to this because in ways I am this way when I'm playing sports. When I'm on a high, I can do no wrong. But when things are going bad, I get in my own head and I start making mistakes. And Jeff can attest to this because every time we go golfing, I'm whipping his ass for the first 14 holes. He gets in my head. I fall apart. He ends up beating me. So I think that's kind of what Portland is talking about is the fact that, Phillip Rivers is his own worst enemy.
I think you just notice he's getting mad more when they're losing because
It
they're
is.
losing.
It
You
is.
know, I
When
think
you're
that's what
losing that bad, you will nitpick the crap out of these guys.
And Jeff whips you at bowling, apparently, too,
Yes.
he says in the chat room.
Jeff does get better when drinking and bowling for sure.
What are you, Peter Webb?
Guys, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to have Jake Hefner from BoltBeat.com to give us his take on the San Diego Superchargers.
Okay, you fantasy football players in San Diego, you know what time it is. It's your time on the Fantasy Corner of San Diego Sports Junkies. I'm your host, Steve-O, and thank you for tuning in every Wednesday to enjoy some fantasy football smack talk with myself and the rest of the Sports Junkies. Now that preseason's over, I encourage you, our valued listener, to tune in weekly for your starts and sits and my sneaky free agent pickups of each week. So throughout the week, hit me up on Twitter at FantasyCorner17, or you can email me at thefantasycorner17@gmail.com. And always stay locked in Wednesdays on the Fantasy Corner at www.SanDiegoSportsJunkies.com/fantasy. Bring it.
But they can't get me down. I'm my own self by my side, and mentally we gotta be free. I see the wickedness.
Cali Comfort Barbecue in Spring Valley was built for West Coast Sunday morning football and fight night. Cali Comfort Barbecue has quickly become San Diego's slow smoke barbecue sports entertainment destination. Full service catering available for all your tailgating needs. CaliComfortSD.com.
Do you need help with your business project that is due? Maybe you need business cards to help your business stand out. We at San Diego Sports Junkies got you covered. SK Digital Imaging can do it all. Give our buddy Sean K a call, 858-408-0732. SK Digital Imaging, from business cards to the bigger projects, SK Digital Imaging and our buddy Sean K will get your printing done right.
Everybody inside, there's lightning bolts falling from the sky. If you're not careful, you might fry, that's no lie. Be easy, homie, stay up. Antonio Gates hitting TDs like layups, causing chaos. Better keep him in reach. He got a body like a beast and hands.
All right, guys, we are back. This is the San Diego Sports Junkies, a show for fans.
By the fans.
And we got Jake Hefner from BoltBeat.com here to give us Jake's take. What's going on, Mr. Hefner?
Gentlemen, how are we doing on this Wednesday?
Oh, we could be better, man. I'm still kind of hung over from this 3-game losing streak and just kind of perplexed, embarrassed, actually.
By the way, really quickly, quick happy birthday to Josh. He had a happy birthday party, and the Chargers did a great job by getting their butts kicked for him.
Is he a man? He 40?
I can tell you right now that we lost to the Redskins last year on my birthday. and we lost to the Dolphins this year on my birthday. Yeah. So it's safe to say I'm not going to have another Charger party on my birthday.
No more
ever
birthdays
again.
for you.
Ever again.
Do you not have a birthday?
Oh, man. Josh, I apologize, man. That sucks. But, hey, happy belated birthday.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
After all else.
So what did you take out of this thumping we took there in Miami?
It's hard to really reach for any positives as far as what could have been taken out of that game. You know, I think the more concerning aspect of everything else is, you know, we were talking last week just as far as we were kind of throwing up the question if this was a must-win game or if it wasn't, and now you kind of find yourself in the position where, you know, you're similar to where you were last year, where you're not only having to beat the teams in your division, but now there's 11 teams in the AFC that have 5 wins. And then you look across the 2 other divisions, like the AFC North, and how competitive that is between Cleveland, Cincinnati, Baltimore, and Pittsburgh. That could be the division right there that has 3 teams out of its own division going into the playoffs. So now you not only do you have to worry about your own division, but now you have to worry about the rest of the AFC conference taking a fall again. And on top of that, of course, you have the schedule that we have to muster over these next 7 weeks, which is not an easy feat whatsoever. And I don't care what team it is that we're playing, even if we do kick off against St. Louis after the bye and Oakland after that. It's a very big task for the Chargers to have to overcome being the situation that they have now inserted themselves in with that embarrassing loss to Miami last week.
Yeah, JK, it's Justin. All week long it was talk that this is a huge game for the Chargers going into a playoff push. The talk was not a must-win, but a game they really need to go on the road and win. Explain to people how big of a loss this was to a Miami team that's on a surge, that's right in the mix, and you just touched on the AFC North, I believe, how good that division is. Just touch on how good the Miami Dolphins are and basically how hard it is for the Chargers now if they come into like a tie situation. I mean, that's going to be pretty tough sledding come December.
Yeah, and you now have to worry about the tiebreaker aspect of the possibility of getting into the playoffs. And, you know, Miami, I mean, you know, a lot of Miami says, you know, wants to give them credit and, you know, they play good. Yeah, you absolutely did. They stomped the Chargers. No question about it. Gave us our worst loss since '96, and Tannehill had the best game of his life. We even talked about that last week. You know, that possibility was out there that the Chargers throughout this season have given up really good games to mediocre quarterbacks and made them look like Pro Bowlers, and that's exactly what they did against Tannehill. First off, Tannehill had all day long to throw the ball. There was barely any pressure in Tannehill's face. And the one time that there was a sack, of course, it was called back because of Corey Legit penalty. But it just seemed like it was backyard football to Tannehill. And what kind of concerned me is that your defense goes up on a short week to Denver, and you're without probably your best cover cornerback in Brandon Flowers out on that field. You're battling with an injured Jason Verrett. And, you know, so of course you may want to come out and say that, okay, well, our expectations are kind of what we expect. You know, that's what we expected to happen is, you know, we'd have our injuries, and that's ultimately what diminished our secondary, and Peyton was able to throw all over us. Okay, so now you have Brandon Flowers return to the lineup with Sharice Wright. So your secondary should be better. And it wasn't. And Miami doesn't even have near the talent that Denver has in its wide receiver core. And it looked like there was nobody around for 10 yards with these wide receivers and tight ends. They just had all day to throw. They could go anywhere they wanted to with the ball. And it was just an embarrassing performance from the Chargers defense. And opposite of that, what can you really say about the offense? That offensive line got pushed around all day. Phillip Rivers had no time, threw 3 interceptions. First time, I think it was I can't remember what the streak is that Rivers was not able to continue for his consecutive games with a touchdown, but that came to a screeching halt. And, of course, you couldn't get the running game going. all in all, just an embarrassing performance.
Jake, I totally agree, man. Completely embarrassing. We were talking in the beginning of the show that, this game, the game of football, is won in the trenches, and the Chargers are doing an absolute poor job at that. I think that's the biggest reason why we sit currently at 5-4, and we're talking about this right now. One question from Twitter for you, from Geppetto. He said it was obvious to fans that Phillip Rivers was turning a bad situation into worse. Are you troubled by coaches not able to reel him back in?
Now, when I'm trying to kind of understand you, like when you're talking about when Phillip gets upset out on the field?
The coaches not being able to calm him down, reel him back in, and get him to focus back on the task at hand.
Well, I don't think it's a mere lack of focus. When you're getting beat like that and consistently, and you get shut down in the first half, and you expect to come out in the second half and make some good adjustments, and you don't, and your offensive line is just getting pushed and pulled and thrown in every direction, and you just have no time to throw the football. Your running game is non-existent. You have to do something to try and get yourself back into the game. So from Phillip's standpoint, if anybody's looking to hang the hat on him for this loss, of course he came out and he blamed himself and he took responsibility for the loss. But you put any quarterback right now in that game behind that offensive line, the way it was going, Peyton Manning couldn't have kept a straight face or kept his composure with that type of pressure that Miami was getting. It was just ridiculous. So, of course, Phillip Rivers on a norm, playing with the type of passion that he does, yes, he's going to look like he's getting, a little bit heated and frustrated with what's happening. But I don't think at all does it mean that his focus is out of the game. So I don't think that that's a position to where the coaches need to reel him back in. I think Phil knows exactly what he needs to do. He was just in a position where he was forced to do too much because nothing else around him was going properly.
Yeah, that's one of the things about Phillip Rivers is he's not afraid to fail, and we knew that towards the end of the last regime. He was a little bit guilty of trying to do too much, and he would throw a few interceptions. I don't have a problem with that. I don't think he needs to be reeled in as well. Now, we were talking a couple things. First of all, I'm going to ask you a couple questions. You can answer them both. People are wondering what you thought about Phillip Rivers being benched in the fourth quarter. I'll just come out real quickly and say I was all for it because I didn't want him to get killed out there. There's no reason for him. But one other question I have for you. Rich Ohrnberger played so well last year. Are we having are we seeing a step back from him because he's got this back injury and he's not able to play at 100% and he's not being able to practice? Or is he maybe just not as good as we thought?
Well, there's a bunch of factors. I'll answer your first question. I agree with you as well that Rivers should have been benched for the injury aspect as well because, like we saw, Miami was getting pressure anytime that they wanted to, and you don't want to risk your quarterback's health when the game is clearly out of hand, win or lose. Moving on to Ohrnberger, you got to weigh it from two different aspects here. Ohrnberger didn't have nearly the type of role that he has now. He's basically kind of been in there or in and out of the lineup in reality since Nick Hardwick went down in week one. He was used more sparingly last year, and he'd rotate at center and at guard, playing two different types of positions. So, and of course, you do have the back ailment, which for a center is a huge injury to deal with, and for the fact that that's lingering over several weeks is also concerning. Overall, in general, the Chargers team is just beat up, and they're tired, and they're demoralized right now. So for lack of play, solely residing on Rich Ohrnberger's shoulders, other than the phantom holding penalty that took place in the first quarter on a Brandon Oliver run.
Yeah.
The whole offensive line in general just should be ashamed of themselves for their play. 5 across the board, no doubt about it. They just did not do a good job collectively.
Yeah, I was going to mention that earlier, Jake. I felt watching that game, everybody was just spent, worn out. It looked, the lines are getting blown off the ball, and every aspect, like you touched on, is just in shambles. And is that a product of just being really tired and needing that bye, even though we had 10 days off? I mean, is that feasible? I know it's a grind, but 10 days off should give you a clear head,
plenty of time,
some refreshment, and a long trip across the country should be no excuse. They look spent out there. I mean, was that your take on it? They just looked really beat down.
I mean, just their physical attitude in general. I mean, you really didn't see it come out until you saw that they were down 21-0, and just see them slowing down and see them with their hands around their hips, and on situations where they shouldn't have been tired. I mean, from the span that they've been to in the last 3 weeks, when you look at it on paper, yes, it's a brutal schedule to have to deal through. But when you're in a position where you have to win a game, that could have easily been treated as a playoff game for the Chargers because of how badly they needed to win that. And they even came out and they talked about how much they knew how important it was. When you hear the team talking about that, your optimism is supposed to be up. And you're supposed to go in there on 10 days rest and know what to do against a team that's not one of the best in the league. You should have been able to go out and do your job and know what was at stake. And tired or not, that's the nature of the game in football. And that's what you have to leave out on the field, no matter what. When you're playing for your playoff lives, that's what you have to do as far as execution goes. So I can't really say that, you can use the tired, worn out. It's almost kind of similar to an injury excuse. I can't use the Chargers being physically exhausted as a cop-out here, just because that's the nature of the game.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to – this is Jason again here, Jake. I'm going to move it over to the defensive side of the ball. We've I really don't want to turn our show into the bashing Donald Butler show, but I'm about ready to start. I don't watch the coach's film. I'm just a fan like everybody else here. I started as soon as we went down by a lot and the game was out of control. The only thing I did on every defensive snap is stared at what Donald Butler was doing. And it looked to me like he just did not care to be out there. Now, I don't know if that was because they were so far behind. I don't know if he's battling injury. I don't know if, like a buddy of mine said, once you start sleeping in silk sheets, it's a lot harder to get up and go to practice. I don't know what it is. Maybe we're off, and maybe he's actually playing better than what we can tell. But my goodness, he looks like he shouldn't even be starting out there. What do you think about that?
It's funny, and this is 2 straight weeks where it's kind of like, we held back on the criticism of Donald last week, and we kind of gave him the benefit of the doubt just because of, everything that was going on, because we didn't expect this type of performance against Miami. We went up against KC, who always plays this stuff. We went up against Denver, who's got Peyton Manning. Okay, we let it slide a little bit. It's really hard to let some of the things that Donald Butler did last Sunday slide, especially the coverage on Charles Clay. Yeah. I mean, you mean to tell me that Donald Butler cannot hang with a tight end who's maybe the bottom third in the league as far as what he does for points and what he does for that team? That was astonishing to me. And just his whole attitude and his whole demeanor around it did not look like the leader that we have seen Donald perform like in the past. And if you heard some of his comments, on ESPN articles from Eric Williams, some of the things kind of bothered me. He was taking blame. He was taking responsibility and accountability for that his play has been poor. But something at the end where he was asked what he's going to be working on during the bye week to simplify his approach at getting better, and he says, quote, seeing the ball and going to the ball.
Hey, got a question.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
I figured that should just be common knowledge. I just don't understand why that's his response and why that's the way it's going now. I really don't understand the downfall of Donald Butler's play of late.
Well, one of our followers here in the chat room, he says Donald Butler is a great example of why all players' contracts should be year to year. And I've always been on that side of the fence. You know, in every sport, I believe that a lot of contracts should be paid based on your play. You know, whether it's statistically or what have you, championships, wins. I think that, Donald Butler needs to earn his contract. And some people were talking on the radio today, and they were saying that, Donald Butler is trying too hard. He feels he's getting paid the big money, so he thinks he needs to make the big plays.
He certainly doesn't look like he's trying too hard out there.
No. But I disagree. I think he's gotten that contract, and he's sitting back with his feet up in his fancy new house, and he's loving life. And it's sad because I think Donald Butler is and will be a great player, but he needs to have a wake-up call, and whether that's one of his own peeps, a la Eric Weddle or something, getting in his grill and saying, hey, things need to change.
That's what
Speaking of that, yeah, did you hear Eric Weddle seemed like he was calling somebody or some players out after the game? Do you have any idea who that was, and if he was referring to Donald Butler there, Jake?
I don't know if he was calling anybody out specifically, but yes, I did hear his comments, and I think he was throwing himself in that same conversation. I don't think he was leaving himself out because collectively, the defense just did awful. All 11 of them did horribly. But that's the type of thing you need right now. If that is the very case that Donald Butler is getting called out by guys like Eric Weddle, I'm sure Phillip Rivers has even had a talk with Donald. The coaches, I'm sure, have had a talk with Donald. You're definitely right. Wake up call for sure. Touch on what you were saying about the year-to-year contract real quick. I have to defend Donald in this case. To me, the year-to-year contract aspect is exactly how A.J. Smith ran things around here, and I think that's exactly why nobody wanted to play for this team. You look at the whole thing with like Vincent Jackson, and how even A.J. came out and said, you earn your contract every single year. That's not the way it goes. Right. In my opinion, for Donald's first contract, coming up after his rookie deal, I thought that he earned that contract. And maybe he is doing the big player type of thing right now, like you guys are saying, putting your feet up and relaxing, I got the big money now. If that's the case, coaches and front office are going to realize that very, very fast.
Yeah.
And he may not be on this team if that is what he continues to do and perform like. Time will tell on that. But as far as a wake-up call goes, there's no doubt in my mind that a number of players have already approached Donald individually and collectively about what he needs to be for the defense.
And I don't have a problem with that. I think, if anything, if you're going to gain, respect or have a talking to, I think it's none better than your peers. It's one thing to hear it from your coaches, but when you hear it from your peers, bro, you need to wake up. We need you to be on that field if we're going to win. We need you making plays. Get your head in the game. I think it bodes well for that player hearing it from his peers. Again, it's one thing to hear it from the fans, the media, or the coaches, but when you hear it from the guy that's playing right beside you, playing on that defense, I think it's a wake-up call that needs to happen.
One other real quick question on Donald Brown before we can stop bashing him. One of our listeners, Darren, had brought up the point, I don't know if you remember, during the preseason, we were talking about the fact that he was not voted as a captain to the defense, and it was kind of peculiar at the time. Now, do you think that there's anything to that because maybe there was an effort issue, or do you think maybe that had something to, I don't know, do you think that that's a coincidence maybe is what I'm asking?
I think that's a coincidence. I really do, and I think that I believe it was Jarrett Johnson, if I remember correctly, that took Donald Butler's spot.
Yeah,
and I can say that just from what I've witnessed at camp, as far as what I saw from Freeney and Jarrett on the days that they weren't practicing and what they were doing, and as far as basically kind of being an extra coach to the young guys. So I think for that aspect alone is why Donald Butler was not voted to captain. I don't think it had anything to do with a lack of effort on Donald's part, or that there's stirring of the pot in the locker room and things are going bad. I don't think that whatsoever. I don't believe that there is any discontent at all in the Chargers locker room. They're in a bad slump right now. They have hit rock bottom, and they have to pick themselves up in one way or another over these next couple of weeks and try to, in my mind, pull off the impossible.
And let's talk about that impossible. Chargers need to be, in my opinion, at least 10-6 to make the playoffs. Where do their 5 wins come from? They have 4 home games and 3 road games. Assuming they win the 4 home games, which will be tough, who do they steal a win from on the road?
Oh, man. I mean, if you can close out the season going to Kansas City and beating them when they're playing for their playoff lives as well, trying to keep pace with Denver right now, that would be monstrous. That might be what slingshots you again, ending with Kansas City in the playoffs, ironically, for 2 years straight now. I think the only probable other win, if you were, let's go ahead and consider St. Louis and Oakland as W's. The only other one that I would even consider a possibility would probably be San Francisco.
All right. So just so you guys know, the remaining games are against the 0-8 Raiders, the 3-5 Rams at home. Then we are at the Ravens, who are 5-4. Home game against the Patriots at 7-2 and Denver at 6-2. We're on the road against the 49ers, who are currently 4-4, and the Chiefs that are at 5-3. A combined record of 30-28, which is the 4th toughest remaining schedule. And at 30-28, it doesn't sound like it's that tough of a schedule, but the Raiders and the Rams are kind of watering it down a little bit. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that the Chargers can still pull this off? Can we, quote unquote, put Humpty Dumpty back together again and make a run for this?
I always think that. You're asking the wrong guy, because I always think that it's time to, we're better than the Dolphins. We're better than every team that we've lost to this season. We might not have played better, but we're better than those teams. And I do think that this is rock bottom, and there's only one way to go up, baby, and that's to fatten up against the Raiders, and then to keep going after that.
Yeah, it's simple. You play like you did out of the gates. You get back to your groove. You find your offensive rhythm. Offensive line schemes need to change a little bit, in my opinion, to help that offensive line. Maybe stack the line with tight ends. Just give yourself a chance to win ball games. Get Phillip in a groove. And I think all is well in San Diego land. I really believe after the bye, they just need to find a rhythm, and they'll get it back on track. That things will be fine. I think you got to go 5-2 down the stretch. Obviously, get to that 10-win mark and just make the playoffs, man. And Phillip, I trust every year.
And Jake, do you think we have 4 of the next 5 games are at home? Do we have to win all 4 of those home games?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, let's just go ahead and figure this right now. If the Chargers beat Oakland and St. Louis, hey, that's a great start coming off the bye. In reality, though, when we put it on paper, just like it was during our 5-game stretch where a lot of media was saying that we took care of mediocre teams, it really doesn't mean anything. To me, nothing really comes out as far as how strict your performance is going to be and the product that you're going to be putting on the field for if you're planning on making a playoff run. When it's going to really matter is going to be Baltimore 3 weeks from now. And you're talking about going up against a team who is competing in a tough division with a defense that is much better, in my opinion, than the one that just crushed the Chargers 37-0. And you got a quarterback, and we've been talking about opposing quarterbacks for a while now against that defense and how great they can look. Can you just imagine if Ben Roethlisberger was playing against the Chargers defense last Sunday? It could have been abysmal, the amount of points that team could have put up against us. And you got Joe Flacco, who has had his time, and first going up against these defenses, and he's been slinging the rock around. He is not a bad quarterback. He may be mediocre, middle of the pack, but he's not a bad quarterback. Derek Carr threw for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns on you. I don't want to know what Joe Flacco could have done against that defense last Sunday. Man. You're moving into that type of stretch where you have to go up against Baltimore, New England, that is traditionally 3 out of the last 4 times that we played them had our number. And, of course, Tom Brady and the way that they're playing right now is absolutely unbelievable. Then you get the revenge game that everybody else was waiting for in Peyton Manning. Can you do it? Can you do it with your backs pushed back up against the wall? We always said desperation can do certain things to certain teams. And if the Chargers are still in a position by that point to make the playoffs, who knows what could happen? And then you close out against San Francisco and Kansas City. It is a big wall to climb. And I'm actually surprised that that's the fourth toughest schedule in the league, because when you look, it really seems just like a death row. Every single week playing physical games. And let's not forget, the Chargers injury bug still lives. Can you stay healthy enough to have the players that are going to be able to contribute through this final stretch of the season in order to win games and need the people, the players that are needed to win those ball games? It's a tough mountain to climb, in my opinion.
I'm so happy you brought up the injuries there, because that was going to be the last thing that we talked about here. Ryan Matthews, we hear, is coming back. Manti Te'o, Melvin Ingram, Jerry Atauchu, are they all going to be back for the Raider game?
That is what is expected. That's the same thing that I have heard. Now, again, first off, you get him back, you need to keep him back. That's priority one.
Right.
You can't have him going out again, because with their injuries and these guys and how long that they stay out, it could cripple this football team for good this season. But again, if you get them back and you come out and you dominate Oakland, that's great. That's step number one. You win each week. But again, we can't if we go out and absolutely obliterate the Raiders, we can't take that as the Chargers are back.
Right.
Because we can't. We will not know what they will really be able to do until we play a contending team, because of what they have shown us in the past so far this year. We've seen that they can dominate worse competition. Didn't see it last week, but we saw it in weeks past.
Right.
And then when we've seen what we can do against better teams like Denver and Kansas City and Arizona this year, they lay an egg. So until that Baltimore game comes up, and if we still have those players on the field, knocking on wood, hoping that we should, then I will start to believe that the Chargers are about to make a real playoff push. Until then, I can't honestly say that until that game comes.
Any chance of Jeremy Clary seeing the field at all this year, or is that just not going to happen?
I think that's a pipe dream. Unfortunately, it's funny. I was thinking about that myself as I was watching that offensive line just get torn apart. For a guy who has seen so much criticism during his tenure as a Charger and for his play, I'd have to think that the offensive line wouldn't be suffering as bad as if he was in that lineup right now.
Totally agree. Jake, as always, my friend, we appreciate your take on things. We have another week to mull this over, and I'm pretty sure we're going to dive a little deeper in it next week before we hit up the Raiders and hopefully make them 0-10 and get back on the right track. So, Jake, as always, from BoltBeat.com, we appreciate your time and joining the show, my friend.
Absolutely. I think you guys, it actually kind of feels good not having to make a prediction this week or name players, because I don't want to curse the team in any more facets that I already have these past couple of weeks.
All right, brother. We'll keep in touch, man, and we'll talk to you next Wednesday.
Later, Jake.
All right, guys. You have a good night.
All right, guys. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we got George from the Bolt Complex going to give us his take on Chargers football.
Okay, you fantasy football players of San Diego, you know what time it is. It's your time on the Fantasy Corner of San Diego Sports Junkies. I'm your host, Steve-O, and thank you for tuning in every Wednesday to enjoy some fantasy football smack talk with myself and the rest of the sports junkies. Now that preseason's over, I encourage you, our valued listener, to tune in weekly for your starts and sits and my sneaky free agent pickups of each week. So throughout the week, hit me up on Twitter at FantasyCorner17, or you can email me at thefantasycorner17@gmail.com. And always stay locked in Wednesdays on the Fantasy Corner at www.SanDiegoSportsJunkies.com/fantasy. Bring it.
But they can't get me down. I'm my own self by my side. And mentally we gotta be free.
Cali Comfort Barbecue in Spring Valley was built for West Coast Sunday morning football and fight night. Cali Comfort Barbecue has quickly become San Diego's slow smoke barbecue sports entertainment destination. Full service catering available for all your tailgating needs. CaliComfortSD.com.
Guys, we are back. This is San Diego Sports Junkies, a show for fans.
By the fans.
And just to kind of rattle off that little Cali Comfort clip you just heard, we're going to be having a viewing party for the Baltimore Ravens game November 30th. So hopefully you can come on down and join us. And speaking of joining us, we got George from the Bolt Complex on the line. What's up, George?
What up, fellas? How you guys doing?
We're doing pretty good, man. How are you?
Just a little... It looks like I got a little allergies going. Today's weather was pretty hot during the day, and it gets kind of colder by going through some sniffles, and I'm one of them, I guess.
Sure you're not sick because of the Charger game?
What Charger game? I thought it was a bye week.
Oh, nice.
So, George...
I think that's the memo. I think the Chargers thought the bye week was this weekend. That's just kind of stuff.
George, tell the listeners, tell our fans a little about what the Bolt Complex is all about.
Okay, cool. Well, basically, a Bolt Complex is pretty much kind of like The Voice. I call it The Void. I'm obviously a huge Charger, Padres, Aztecs, Sockers. I mean, you name it. Anything I do with San Diego on it, we're a fan of. Our motto is root for the home team or go home. And it's basically just kind of like a void that's missing, I think, when it comes to attire or apparel that has a little, I want to say, flavor. Nowadays, a lot of companies have too much. They'll slap a logo on the T-shirt and they'll charge you $50 for it. So I'm one of those guys that says, you know what, this has got to stop. I love my teams, and I'm a graphic designer by trade, so I decided to come up with a few designs here and there. And it's a family-run business. It's pretty cool, and it's in a sense it's a hobby in a sense, but it's also a business. So I love doing it both ways as far as business and family venture.
We love it, George. The family fun. We're basically a family here, the San Diego Sports Junkies. We've all been friends for quite some time now. By the way, I have your blue and gold for life loyal dedication shirt on right now, as Justin's wearing your hat that you were so kindly to give us at our last meeting at the Spring Valley barbecue competition.
Nice.
For our listeners, where can they see what you have? Where can they purchase some of this gear?
Well, right now, as of today, we only have it online, boltcomplex.com. We had a few stores here and there, but quite honestly, we've always we kind of focus more directly to our consumer, which is our fan base. A lot of stores kind of inquired about us, sort of selling to them, but it just wasn't, we kind of trade off a little bit, and we're not obviously shutting it down. We're not opposing to selling wholesale, but mainly it's online only because it gives us more of a control. Some of the stuff that we're trying to do is a little bit more, we do like a lot of limited releases here and there. So a lot of the stuff we don't really, I don't know if I can say the word hoard out in a sense, where we can just, make it, produce it, and then just sell it to everybody. It's more like a limited piece. Sometimes it could be, like a limited drop for certain numbers and certain situations and stuff, like the one we just did for good old 51 Game Over, we called it, for Trevor Hoffman's induction. So stuff like that, we kind of try to keep it more controlled and not necessarily have, wholesalers buying this as well. You know what I mean?
Right on, George, man. We love what you're all about. We first got to meet George at the Spring Valley, tailgate and barbecue festival, and and got to see his magic in action, and the gear that he brings, the quality of the gear especially is top notch. I really like what you got going on, George. But now I got to ask you some of the stuff that's a little more hard hitting, and that is that is the San Diego Chargers, man. What is going on with our San Diego Chargers?
Well, you know what? To put it in a nutshell, if I was to just sort of bring it down to this very next few sentences, I want to say, when you have no pass rush, you have no offensive line, actually, creating holes for your running back. You become one-dimensional. Obviously, injuries always something always there to look for as well, but we're not the only ones with injuries. So you kind of combine those together. Rivers can't do anything. I wish Rivers can clone himself and play defense sometimes, but he can't. But quite honestly, you combine those elements, and that's what you're getting. You become one-dimensional. They're just literally just blitzing left and right, here and there, and unfortunately, the last few games it's been a blueprint. It seems like ever since the Raiders game, all of a sudden they mauled over the Jets, and all of a sudden the last 4 games the Raiders almost gave them a nice little scare there. But ever since then, it seems like everyone is pretty much doing the same thing. And am I surprised at the Miami game? No, not really. It's been like 50 years since they won over there, but the way they lost, man, it's like, wow, it's been a while.
Definitely.
I guess since I don't know how many years against KC was the last time they got shut out. So, it's kind of hard to grasp. But I mean, you kind of put it on paper and you see what's going on. And, I mean, basically, they just see some series help. I don't know if these guys coming back are going to help a lot. You're not getting Harvard back. You're not getting offensive line backs. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's kind of hard to grasp right now.
Hey, George, it's Justin here, bud. I'm gonna, since we are in a little 3-game slide here, brother. I wanted to ask you who you're most disappointed in this season. You're just looking at the whole scheme of things. I know we were on a good stretch, got to 5-1, but we've praised them all year. Now it's time to really kind of throw a little blame on a couple guys. Who would you pick out of the group that really has disappointed you this season?
Well, I can't. If I could just maybe. I wouldn't say disappointed. I'm more just concerned about his performance in the sense is Donald Butler. Only because, last year he was all over the place. He had pretty much sense for the ball. And, I mean, he was playing lights out last year. And this year, just in general, our linebackers have pretty much been elite, man. I don't know what it's been at, And just last week, Donald Butler's, some of the plays they actually put online. I saw a couple of people actually posting pictures or videos on my complex page. He was just not there, man. It seems like he was like a turnstile, So I think that's one guy. I think, it's kind of hard. I want to say defensively, it's Donald Butler. Offensively, I want to say not really Allen. I guess he's a sophomore guy. He's got a rookie of the year last year, but Allen's pretty much actually the last 2 games he's been okay, but he hasn't really been that receiver that we saw last year.
He's been missing.
If I was to just pinpoint 2 players, one on each side, I would say Donald Butler and Allen. But I mean, if I could actually make the injury bug a person, that's the guy I'm actually depressed on. That's the guy I want to punch in the face right now with all these injuries.
So, there is a plethora of players coming back potentially after this bye week, and I'll rattle them off really quick. And I want you to tell us, who are you most interested in seeing back on the field? First and foremost, we got Ryan Matthews, Manti Te'o, Melvin Ingram, Jerry Atauchu, Jaleel Ade, and Jason Verrett. Who are you most intrigued to see back out on the field? And who do you think is going to give us the shot in the arm that we need to get this thing moving back in the right direction?
Well, if I can say from last year's situation, the Superman, they call him Super Melvin, is the guy I'm looking forward to, because I think he brought last year a push. I mean, he was the only guy that was actually penetrating. He was actually getting to the quarterback, and if it wasn't him, it would, maybe moving an extra time in him so that would obviously free up other guys. So I think Super Melvin's my first guy to think of. I'm hoping, I'm praying it ever comes back. Because, Barrett, excuse me. I heard he wasn't coming back. I heard he's still kind of like 2 or 3 weeks down the line. But I guess in the sense, again, if I pick an offense and the defensive side of the ball, Defensively, it's super relevant, Melvin Ingram. And offensively, everyone's like, dude, what's up with, injury bug, Matthews. I'm like, you know what, dude, I'll take Matthews right now, only because he's the type of running back that could actually, I wouldn't say he's the kind of guy, he's not an LT, obviously, but he's the kind of player that would actually make plays from the backfield as well. You can utilize him in the backfield, not just as a running back. So I'm hoping he can bring some speed. Maybe, I don't know. Have you guys ever noticed how it seems like Mr. Reich over here just keeps doing the same running play down the middle. They don't really do any tosses, any sweeps or nothing. So I'm hoping that with having Ryan Matthews back with some speed now, maybe we can try some different directions, maybe different approaches when it comes to the running game.
I totally agree. I think Ryan Matthews does bring another element to the offense. People can say what they want, but Ryan Matthews is our premier running back.
The numbers from last year. Who would want that guy coming back? So like we're trading the guy in, like, we're going to get Ryan Matthews, like, let's do it,
I would take those numbers year in, year out for the next 8 years and be completely satisfied. What he did last year was very, very good. And I would be excited to see number 24 back on the field. And I'm excited for two reasons. One, for him to be back on the field, but as Darren in our chat room also pointed out, that Donald Brown has been a dumpster for this organization. He hasn't played very, very well. Brandon Oliver needs somebody else in that backfield that can, do some damage and take some pressure off of him.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's no offensive line coming back. So I'm concerned. I'm hoping that with Matthews coming back, it's gonna, I don't know, some sort of surge, give some sort of a surge or some power to these guys, because it seems like they were just, man. I'm hoping. I have my fingers crossed. They got to win. You said it earlier. At least 5 games in the next 7. So you never know, man. These starters seem to keep us on our heels. It seems like you think they're done for the year. Like last year, and all of a sudden last year they won 4 straight, and they beat certain teams that you think they would have lost. And I think you could consider Kansas City and Miami their teams they should have won, but yeah, man. It's just one of those years again, I guess. What was our record last year at 9 games in? Was it 4-5, or was it? You guys remember what it was last year?
I don't remember. I think it was 4-5.
Yeah, I think I want to say 4-5. We might have even been 3-6. It was a deep hole. We had to rattle off.
It was around 4.
We had to rattle off 4 or 5 games in a row at the end there to basically put it to rest. So, it's going to be a tough stretch, man. We got a tough schedule coming up. I think the biggest key, one game at a time, it's making the Raiders 0-10 and, getting right, putting the wood to the Raiders and getting right, getting that confidence, because I think confidence breeds excellence.
As much as, you can count on the Raiders for being 0-8, they'll be 0-9 this weekend, but they've been playing pretty good lately. I watched the game against Seattle. At least some of the plays, some of the highlights, and they almost came back. I don't even think Seattle that good. Quite honestly, I don't even think they're that great of a team. But the way the Raiders are playing, I don't even know nowadays. Like they should beat the Raiders at home.
Absolutely, George.
Man, it's just one of those years again, I guess.
Well,
so,
George,
would be all right.
I was going to say, George, not to mean to cut you off here, but if you didn't hear it already, we're going to be at Cali Comfort for the Ravens game November 30th for our pregame show and viewing party. So we'd love to have you down there. Maybe you can bring some gear and make a little money on the side and show these guys what you're made of. We'd love to have you down there November 30th for our viewing party.
Nice, yeah. Definitely. I'll just have to reach out to Sean and those guys over there, Art and them, and see if obviously get the green light and see if it's cool. I should have a few news. We have new stuff coming out as well. So by then, what is that? A couple of weeks? 3 weeks?
I think
it's the game after. It's 3 weeks. 3 weeks.
Yeah, Raiders, Rams, and then we're at Ravens. So
once again, remind everybody listening where they can find the gear and where they can find you. Nope.
It's at San Diego Bowl Complex, our company, bowlcomplex.com, www.bowlcomplex.com, and obviously the hashtag SD Bowl Complex for Instagram, and then Facebook.com/WBF.
Right on, George. Well, we appreciate you taking the time to call into the show, and hopefully we can make you a regular as our relationship continues to grow over the next few months and hopefully years.
Oh, yeah, sure. Hey, really quick, guys. First, I want to say thank you for the opportunity to be on the radio show. And second, man, you guys are awesome. Keep doing what you guys are doing. Like I said, if you guys need any help on the marketing side visually, you got my number. So whatever you guys need, let's make it happen. We can definitely do something down the line where we, like you guys said.
Thanks, George.
We could probably do something where we show up and do our thing.
Thanks, buddy. That means a lot to us. And like Josh said, hopefully the relationship continues to grow, and we appreciate your help, bud.
It's all about support. Support the local companies.
Yes, sir.
Family run.
Yes, sir.
Companies,
Go Bolts.
Absolutely,
right,
George. Thanks for calling in, buddy.
All right, man. Let's do this. All right, bye-bye.
Bye. So, guys, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to open up the phone lines to you, 619-866-4567. That's 619-866-4567.
Easy for you to say.
Wow.
But we're also going to switch gears a little bit and talk some Aztecs basketball. Aztecs basketball heats up this Friday. They have an exhibition game, and then they move on to the regular season. So we're going to break that down for you and give you a little taste of what the starting five is going to look like for your San Diego State Aztecs.
Okay, you fantasy football players of San Diego, you know what time it is. It's your time on the Fantasy Corner of San Diego Sports Junkies. I'm your host, Steve-O, and thank you for tuning in every Wednesday to enjoy some fantasy football smack talk with myself and the rest of the Sports Junkies. Now that preseason's over, I encourage you, our valued listener, to tune in weekly for your starts and sits and my sneaky free agent pickups of each week. So throughout the week, hit me up on Twitter at FantasyCorner17, or you can email me at thefantasycorner17@gmail.com. And always stay locked in Wednesdays on the Fantasy Corner at www.SanDiegoSportsJunkies.com/fantasy. Bring it.
But they can't get me down. I got my own self by my side, and mentally we gotta be free. I see the wicked.
Cali Comfort Barbecue in Spring Valley was built for West Coast Sunday morning football and fight night. Cali Comfort Barbecue has quickly become San Diego's slow smoke barbecue sports entertainment destination. Full service catering available for all your tailgating needs. CaliComfortSD.com.
Do you need help with your business project that is due? Maybe you need business cards to help your business stand out. We at San Diego Sports Junkies got you covered. SK Digital Imaging can do it all. Give our buddy Sean K a call, 858-408-0732. SK Digital Imaging, from business cards to the bigger projects, SK Digital Imaging and our buddy Sean K will get your printing done right.
Some man live his life for profits alone. That very same man, he lives his life all alone. On any road to life, yes, it goes up and down. Doesn't really matter.
All right, guys, we are back. And just a reminder, when I open up those phone lines to you, 619-866-4567. As a reminder, we're going to be at Cali Comfort November 30th for our Ravens pregame. It's a 10 o'clock game, so we'll run the show from, roughly 8:30, 9 o'clock right up to kickoff, and then have our viewing party at that time. And from now until that time, we're going to be raffling off a Malcolm Floyd football, $10 for one raffle ticket, $20 for three, and it will be for...
Well, it's going to be for a great cause, epidermolysis bullosa. real tough word to say.
You did a great job.
We're going to refer to it as EB. One of our listeners, their child has this disease. It's a connective tissue disease. It causes blisters on the skin and in the mucosal membrane, so it's in your throat also and on your tongue. And what it does is it's a defect in the anchoring between the epidermis and the dermis, which is the layers of skin, resulting in friction and skin fragility. You can actually see they have an actual documentary on HBO on it. There's also another documentary in the UK that was called The Boy Whose Skin Fell Off. And the one on HBO is called My Flesh and Blood. And the children who have it are referred to as butterfly children because their skin is as fragile as butterfly wings. It's a terrible disease, and we're trying to raise money to help fight it.
I couldn't even imagine, man.
For every $10, you'll get one entry in the raffle for the Malcolm Floyd signed football. For every $20, you get three entries.
Yep.
We would love to have you come down to Cali Comfort and give us some money. We'll give you raffle tickets or just donate money. 100% of this money goes to the cause. We are not keeping any of it. You can also send us money on online at sdsportsjunkies.com, at gmail.com, and that would be through PayPal.
Right.
Is that correct?
Correct, through PayPal. Correct.
And then you can mail us checks. We'll take money just about any way you can get it to us. It's a great cause, and we're really focused on raising some money for this.
Hal in the chat room, also known as the Return of the Bad, sent us off $20 in the mail.
Nice.
For this great I'm trying to think of the word. Cause, thank you.
Oh, okay. Well, it's a great cause because it's such a crazy disease, and plus
it's a crazy disease, but it's close to our heart.
It is.
One of our listeners' sons,
right,
who's 16 months old, has this disease.
It touches close to home, so it's definitely worth $10, $20 if you can spare it, guys. You don't have to, or spread the word. If you can't afford it, then just spread the word. But giving away that Malcolm Floyd football is going to be nice. I mean, that'll be fun for a fan to get that. So that's always a good thing.
Absolutely. Darren, you hit it on the head. EB makes whining about our bolts seem ridiculous, and I totally agree.
It does.
When things are bad, it can always be worse. That's why we want to do our part. We do this show each and every week. We're a show for fans.
By the fans.
And we want to show our support to our fans and do something good for a charity that is going to benefit them.
Yeah,
so go to SanDiegoSportsJunkies.com. Go under the blog. We've written an article. It tells all about EB, how you can support us in the cause. And I think the website's causeforthewave.org if you want more information about that. So as we roll on, we're going to dive into some Aztecs basketball talk.
Yes, sir.
As a reminder, our phone lines are open for any San Diego sports questions at 619-866-4567. So if you want to talk Chargers, want to talk Padres, and one of their players that got released that just got an 80-game suspension for PEDs, whatever you want to talk about San Diego sports, give us a call, 619-866-4567. We're going to dive into some Aztecs basketball. The Aztecs, they start off an exhibition game against Point Loma Friday at 7 p.m. Unfortunately, it's not televised, but I'm extremely, extremely excited that Aztec basketball is finally here.
I'm just excited to see a stat line that's legitimate, and it's not a secret.
Right?
That's all.
Exactly.
It's like when I guess the guys in the chat room, I don't know if they follow Aztec basketball. We do cover that here because we are the San Diego Sports Junkies. We're not just the Chargers Sports Junkies. So we do cover all aspects of San Diego. That's what makes us more unique than other people that talk sports. We get your Padres, your Aztecs fix, and also your Chargers. But on to subject at hand. Great time to be an Aztec. Aztec fan, for that matter. Yes, a great exhibition game coming up. I was telling Josh how upset I am it's not on TV.
Extremely.
We can listen to Teddy Ball game on the old radio, though, so that'll be fun. But, yeah, it's just good to have something substantial to see that stat line and see how some of the new players are going to work themselves in.
And speaking of players, our inside source has advised us that Trey Kell has been slated as the starter at point guard
for Friday.
So for Friday's game and for the foreseeable future, the rookie Trey Kell, which has all the tools. The guy is a complete stud. Go on YouTube if you want to see his videos. The guy can do everything.
Right.
He can get to the paint. He's aggressive. He can dunk. He can play defense, and he drains it from three.
Yep.
He is going to be a force if you're looking for somebody offensively to lean on. This could be the guy.
Yep. Just to touch on SoCal Trav in the chat room, USC Trojans, thumbs down for me because we run the West, and that's it. Aztecs, baby. I don't see you in the top 25.
We run Cali.
We run Cali. Hashtag Aztec Nation.
Just to remind you, SoCal Trav, we went to USC just a few years back and whipped your ass in your own house. So,
yeah.
Just throwing it out there.
Usually we don't talk crap on our own show to our own fans, but when it comes to basketball season and you want to throw your Trojan stuff out, bring it on, because we'll fight you back. We'll get you back, brother. No, this is Trey Kell's one of these kids, local kid, St. Augustine High. The one thing, high recruit, 4 or 5-star recruit. Aztecs finally land a local homegrown kid. Steve Fisher gets his kid. He's known for scoring and scoring big. He doesn't look like a freshman. Second point, he's big-bodied. He looks like he might be almost a junior or a sophomore build already as a freshman. So
right.
I think that's what the coaching staff likes about Trey Kell. And also, obviously, the ability to score the ball. And we are missing some scoring, departure of X names, and also Josh Davis in the middle. So, yes, we'll need his scoring.
Well, and that's one of the biggest questions we had, the last couple shows is where's the scoring going to come from? And we've been concerned with this year after year. We've lost some really good talent over the last couple seasons that have moved on to the NBA and across the seas. But where's the scoring going to come from, and who's going to play point guard most of all?
Right.
And at this point, it appears Trey Kell's going to be that guy. Akeel Quinn obviously is going to have his name in the hat amongst others.
Right.
And it appears that our starting five at this point is going to be Trey Kell, J.J. O'Brien, Winston Shepard, Dwayne Poley, and Skylar Spencer.
I like it, man. What we've talked about all off season is how deep this team can go. What do we got in the chat room? Oh, here we go. Now SoCal Trav's acting like a Raider fan. How many championships do you have? Oh, man. Oh, God. Here we go.
Typical Raider fan.
You know what, SoCal Trav, we don't want to talk too much crap to you because you're one of our better listeners, man. I hear you on that. We're not as cool as USC, especially in football. We know that. I don't know what USC basketball has ever done. I don't know if they have national
Not
titles.
recently.
I couldn't tell you.
It's kind of like the Raiders. What have you done recently?
I know what they got in Tony Bland. He went blanding to USC, and he's been good recruiting for them. Got the Jeremy McLaughlin kid. I do like that. But subject at hand, what Fisher's going to do this year, and the starting five you just mentioned on, this could be mixed up several different ways as the season progresses. You know that, Josh. We legitimately have 11 players that can play on the floor this year, and that's what's going to be so intriguing in how Coach Fish is going to use his lineups. And if we play a bigger school, say Utah comes in here later in a couple weeks here, maybe he wants to roll out a Chol and a Spencer to say no in the lanes, and
right.
Maybe one time he wants to roll out Quinn and Kell, or a Quinn and Shrigley, wants to get more of a scoring lineup, and maybe Poley comes off the bench just in certain games, not
Kevin
every game.
Szabo.
Exactly, Kevin Szabo. Let's see how all these guys get integrated, and that's the big question mark this season.
Well, and Darren brought up a question in the chat room. If I can scroll back really quick. He basically said, but can he make the Final Four? And it's funny that you asked that, because that's a question that has been basically put on the Aztecs hat very recently.
Right.
That someone, and I'll let Justin explain, of the media believes that the Aztecs, with the way their defense is, if they get scoring from the point guard, a la Trey Kell and company, they can be and will be a Final Four competitive team.
Right, just a guest on a local radio affiliate. I just listened, and I think it's a Pete Prisco, CBS Sports. I want to say it's him. I don't know for sure, because I don't want to just put words in people's mouth. But the guest was saying and explaining if we get consistent play from that point guard position, if we can find a true point guard, maybe a Trey Kell a la Kevin Szabo, and who knows what Akeel Quinn's going to do. Maybe he's been training like a dog in the offseason, and he's ready to take that Xavier Thames step. We don't know. Xavier Thames came from nowhere, too. We didn't think he was going to be that scorer like a Chase Tapley was a year before, a year prior. So each year we have a guy step into a new role, and you go, wow, I didn't see that coming. So, but for me, yes, what he was just pretty much acknowledging the fact that the Aztecs have so much talent, but they need that consistent point guard play with consistent scoring and dishing without the turnovers. And if they can do that, he said they're a legitimate Final Four team, and he wasn't BSing. It was not blowing smoke.
No, and you know, you and I especially, and Mikey included, he's not with us today, are diehard Aztec fans. We've been following this team for quite some time, you know, some longer than most, but you know, the core of this team that has continued to roll over year in a year, and then you have a top 10 recruiting class that has now been infused with our veteran talent.
Right.
And the freshman class that's coming in is just unbelievable as far as talent, to the point where some of these, you know, names that we have on our current roster may have to transfer because they might not get playing time. I mean, it's that deep and it's that exciting that Aztec basketball is on a national stage.
Yeah, and it sucks to say that. You know, the Dakari Allens of the world and the Darrell Williams, and not saying that they're going to get pushed out the door by any means.
Right.
They have a chance to prove themselves as well. But this is what happens, and I think what Mikey was touching on last week, this is what happens when you have a program. When you have a program like I'm not going to even compare them to Kentucky or Duke or whatever. They're way above what the Aztecs are. But when you have a program like that where you're consistently getting 3 to 4 star recruits and an occasional 5 like a Malik Pope, Gonzaga, a la Gonzaga in their weak conference too. So, yeah, a program, quote unquote, is where you have no turnover. You can be consistent every year and be in the conversation of about a top 25 team or a team that can make the tournament and have a chance to win a championship. So that's my definition of a quote-unquote program, and that's what Steve Fisher has built here in San Diego. So, but yes, it sucks when you have to see guys that you recruited a few years prior coming through the feed here and then getting ousted because top talent is coming through the lines.
It's a good problem to have.
It is a very good problem.
It's a good problem to have. And I'm blessed to, you know, be a true diehard fan that has been able to watch this thing build and build and build and get to where they're at. And we got to call SoCal Trav is calling in.
SoCal Trav.
Let's get him on the line here.
Let's get the phone up here. Our producer left, so we're struggling. SoCal Trav, welcome to the show, bud. How's it going?
What's happening, fellas? How are you?
Good, pretty good, man. Pretty good. So what do you have on your mind? What do you want to talk to the Junkies about?
Fight on.
Well, only Charger football, you know, because, no offense, it's the only team I follow down in San Diego.
Hey, it's okay. Everybody has their teams, and like I said, you can chime in and interrupt us anytime we're talking hoops or anything, because we're just kind of blowing smoke here. We're getting ready for the Aztec season, and we won't dive into that for real probably for another week. So yeah, have at it, brother. What do you want to talk Charger Bolts with?
Well, I want to talk about. Well, I don't really want to talk about last week's game because that's
demoralizing.
It was pathetic,
yeah.
Dude. It was disgusting. We looked like the Jets when we played them at home. What do you guys honestly think? I mean, what do you think we need? What one thing do you think we need to get us over that hump to the next level with the Chargers?
Well, you know, if you're asking me, my opinion, this is Justin, by the way. It's for me, dude. I hate to look to next year. I think we have a legitimate shot to make a run this season. I just think the depth is killing us right now, and that, like we touched on, was one of the big focal points beginning of the year. We thought our depth was amazing, right? I just think I don't want to look to next year. I think this is a good year to make a run, but next year you're going to have all this money in cap space, and you can actually go out and get legitimate, bona fide free agents that might really help a team, and you can build through the draft again with Tommy T's selections. You kind of scratch your head and go, where is all that depth we used to have? And my honest opinion is they got to scratch and claw for the next 7 weeks, and who knows what we'll be talking about at the end of those 7 weeks, but I hope it's not sitting at home.
And SoCal Trav, to add to I think the Chargers need a bona fide leader. They need somebody that can stand up and say, I'm tired of this shit. I'm tired of the way that we're playing. We are grown men. We can play well together. We need to play well together, right the ship, and get on a roll.
I agree. I think we do have a leader on the team. I just don't know if he's stepped up 100% yet to let these guys know. But Eric Weddle, I think, is an outstanding guy for that position. I mean, he's pretty hardcore, pretty tough guy. I wouldn't want to meet him in a dark alley on a lonely night.
No.
And he's like a man. He's like Superman. So I think he's a good leader. But I agree with you guys. I'm excited. I think we have a shot. We went 5-1 when we were healthy, and then we just got plagued with injuries. And then obviously you can see what injuries do. It cost us dearly. It cost us 3 losses in a row, which is absolutely a joke. So if we get 4 guys back that are coming back, for the Raider game, we obviously will beat the Raiders at home. If we can stay healthy for the last 7 games, I honestly think we have a really good shot at making a run for it. And I think we can beat Denver. They obviously have shown their weaknesses and against New England and against the Seahawks. And we start to face New England at home, but I think we can beat them at home. They're better at home than they are on the road, and likewise, we're better at home than we seem to be on the road.
I agree.
I agree. I think we'll be okay. I think we can make a run for it. I think we'll make the playoffs. If we can beat Kansas City, the Raiders, and Denver, we could win the West for sure. So.
That's a bold statement. I think it's going to be tough to win the West. I think we had a chance by beating aforementioned Miami. Obviously Denver losing to New England. It would have given us that opportune time to take over the West when we match up in Denver in about 4 or 5 weeks. I do have a question that came up in Twitter, and I'm hoping you can help answer this question. With how bad the running game is and how bad the O-line is versus the rush, are the Chargers not utilizing their tight ends a la Johnson and Phillips in the right manner?
Yes and no. I mean, that's a pretty tough question.
We're all about hard-hitting questions around here.
Yeah, I mean, we were missing the Hallelujah. So, I think our O-line would be 100% better if he was up there still. I mean, that injury really sucked. That was the downfall. That was the beginning of the downfall for the offensive line. And I agree. I think it's a back and forth thing. I mean, I agree, yes and no, but I don't think they haven't utilized him enough.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Hey,
what about where's Ladarius Green at? He hasn't been in the game at all, barely. I mean, what's up with that guy? I mean,
yeah,
he's supposed to be the next Antonio Gates.
There's a couple guys you kind of scratch your head on. Some feedback in the chat room right here. Return to the Bad. He said we need a Braveheart type leader. He said Weddle's not more of a vocal. He leads by example, and I tend to agree with him. And we got Bolt Pride Movement. Welcome to the chat room as well. Thanks for joining us. Need someone to get in the player's face if they're slacking, and I tend to agree with that too. We don't. What do you pay Donald Butler that money for? It's for me. You want some, James Laurinaitis type guys, Brian Cushing type guys, not J.J. Watt intensity type guys, not necessarily the player, but you need guys that are going to get in people's face and make a statement. And I agree with all those suggestions in the chat room.
Yeah, we do definitely need someone that has the balls to step up and. You may not be the favorite guy in the locker room if he's going to stand up and start shouting some things, but you know what? If someone has the guts to do that and make a statement like that and start making statements and yelling and screaming it and letting them know, hey, we got to get this shit going.
Right.
Guys will listen to that. I mean, those guys are they're brothers to the end. They're a team. They work together. They're supposed to work together and help each other out. And you know what? It made us need a good swift kick in the ass from somebody to stand up and say something like that.
Agreed.
I agree with those guys. So
this is kind of off the wall, Trav, but Jason is actually in our chat room, believe it or not, and he says, should we give Incognito a look?
I don't know. I don't mind giving everybody a look, and there's always, might as well look at everybody we can. But does he fit the mold for the Chargers?
Yeah, no, and you know what Tommy T's about. He's about character guys, and he doesn't sacrifice character for nothing. Even if the guy's skillful, they don't bring bad eggs in here, really, unless they were carried over from the former regime. They haven't brought in guys like that. They've brought in guys that want to play football, hard-nosed guys, the Cavell Connors of the world, all about football. And I don't agree with it. I say ride with what you got. This is who you brought to the party, and this is who you party with. You wait till next year to make those decisions.
And like you said, you mentioned before, we're going to have a lot of money next year.
Yep.
And here's a question for you guys, and this has been the hot topic, amongst all Charger fans.
All right.
Is Pagano. I know there's a lot of injuries on defense, yada, yada, yada. But as a coach, he is supposed to work with what he has. So it doesn't matter if it's a starter or a second stringer or a third stringer. He is the defensive coordinator. He is supposed to work with the tools he's given. And the last 3 games, he's been very unsuccessful with that. And he's been up and down all year long. There's been a few games that the defense has been lights out, but they've been lights off more of the time. There is a strong rumor that Rex Ryan is going to be fired at the end of the season. Where he goes, I don't know. But we have a shot to get a guy named Rex Ryan to be our defensive coordinator. What do you guys think about that possibility?
Yeah, but is it all on Pags, though? Is it all on John Pagano? Because I see a lot of guys out there blowing assignments, looking at each other, arm tackles, not giving a crap, a la Donald Butler. I see a lot of crap out there that isn't John Pagano's fault, and I've seen John Pagano's defenses take down some of the best offenses in the tenure that he's been here, a la Peyton Manning and Denver. So I love John Pags, but I do know I know what the conversation is out there right now. Does he need to go? Does he need to be looked at? Maybe held accountable? Yes, he needs to be held accountable, but so do the players on the field.
Absolutely.
100% with that.
12 missed tackles last game is unacceptable.
That's not Pags out there.
8 first downs based on penalties is unacceptable. Those are things that the players are doing on the field that John Pagano cannot control. And if the guys can just get their shit together, this is all going to turn around. We still have a chance of this. And with the additions of Manti Te'o, who was leading the team in tackles before he went down, Melvin Ingram, who is a force to be reckoned with off
pass
the edge,
rush.
Jared Tachu, another guy that can pass rush, Jaleel Adai, who can lay the wood to people, and then potentially, but unrealistically, Jason Verrett, if he can somehow manage to get back out in the field. The Chargers have a really, really good defense, and I think as long as you get your starters back out there, people that
the core
have worked well together, they have that chemistry together. If they can get these guys back out of the field with the chemistry that they've built over the last year with Pagano, I think that they can right the ship.
I think they can too, but as we all know, it all comes back to the coach. So which sucks, but it does. You can't just fire a player. You can't just, can a player and boot him out the door like you can a coach. But, I know he's part of he's the last piece of the puzzle from the AJ fucking Turner bullshit. So, yeah, I agree with you. I mean, you can't blame the coach. They have been playing pretty crappy. They've had butter on their arms. They can't seem to wrap anybody up. It just slides right off their arms and they keep on going. So, but, we did go, like I said, we were healthy. We were 5-1. And with the guys coming back, if they're 100%, I think it's going to turn around, and I think we'll see a lot better defensive playing. Like Verrett, he fit right into that defensive lineup. I mean, a rookie right out of college, he fits right into these awesome players that have been around the block for a long time. He fit right into the program and learned it very quickly. Mm-hmm. It's unfortunate that he slammed his shoulder in Oakland, but if he can get healthy again, they have him. We've got Brandon Flowers, we've got Sharice Wright, we've got Weddle, we've got all those guys coming back. Ingram especially, I can't wait to see Ingram back on the field. He's animal, big-time animal
monster.
Guy. He is. He's a beast to be reckoned with, and I think everybody listening and in the chat room would agree with me. He's a beast to be reckoned with.
Totally agree, SoCal.
But I honestly think if we're healthy, I think we can run the board. I honestly think we can. If we can stay healthy with what we have coming back, I think we can win the last 7 games. I mean, the only 2 games are going to be, I think the toughest 2 games we have in the last 7 are honestly going to be obviously Denver and New England. I think we can take care of Kansas City in their home turf. We've done it before. We can do it again. We beat Denver at home last year. And the 49ers are just being the Raiders right now. So I think we have a shot to run the board. If we can in the last 7, I think we'll have a good shot. But we definitely can't lose more than 6 games. If we do, I don't think we'll see the playoffs.
Right on, Trav. You heard it here first from the Diehard Bolt Club. SoCal Trav thinks that we can run the table, man. Thanks for calling into the show. As always, thanks for being a part of our Diehard Bolt Club. And, we hope to have you on next week voicing your opinion, Trav.
Thanks. I just got one last thing to say. Volkswagen. Have a good night, guys.
Later, Trav.
Way to throw it in there, buddy. So, Justin, before we dive back into the Aztec thing really quick, Geppetto in the chat room, he says, guys, could Rivers be the next Dan Marino of our era?
Well, that's what they talk about. I mean, you got to get to the big one, and he hasn't done it. Marino did get to a Super Bowl. He lost. But, yeah, you're going to throw for all these yards, all these touchdowns, be tops in efficiency for most years. He had a couple bad ones, but – yeah, he's in the same conversation until he gets the lightning bolt to the big game, and they'll forever link them because of just their playing style and competitiveness. So, yeah, it's talked about, but Philip can write his own ending. This could turn out the way he wants, but like you said, he needs to keep his mind straight and not get so flustered. He needs to just focus, and he needs help. He needs help from his teammates, and he needs next year too. I mean, he needs that. Regime to go out and get some players with that money we got. So
absolutely. So let's shift gears back to the Aztecs. The Aztecs have a game this Friday against Point Loma. Unfortunately, untelevised. Continue on 2 more games.
I think they
home.
said that was going to be too bloody to air.
It could be
too bloody,
too graphic.
Too graphic. To air.
Yeah. Yeah, they got to play it on HBO. Hard Knocks.
Yeah, they figure it's going to be like 120 to 3, so they're like, yeah, we can't embarrass them like that.
It could be. I mean, Point Loma, whatever you want to say, I mean, they did win their quote-unquote conference.
Right.
And I think they won a championship as well, but, I mean, they're definitely not anywhere near the echelon of the Division I teams.
Yeah, T. Smith Middle School division. It's not a very good division to play in, but yes, if you win your division, you're still a good team, right?
Absolutely. So the next 2 games on the schedule and the games that will be first televised is Cal State Northridge, Friday, November 14th at 7 p.m. That will be on Fox Sports San Diego.
Good primer.
Followed by Utah, which is Tuesday, November 18th at 1 p.m. on ESPN. I mean, it's awesome it's on ESPN, but 1 p.m., are you serious?
Killing us, right? Killing us fans, a normal everyday Joe that goes to work. But yeah, I guess we'll be streaming on our phones, not being productive at work. I guess that's what you got to do to us. But no, that game, Josh, that is a huge game by means of Utah Utes are in the Pac-12 now. They're coming to our house. They're gonna be in for a rude awakening if they've never been to Viejas. That place would be pretty ruckus. This game would be equivalent of the Arizona game last year. Utah was just rated outside the top 25 when the polls came out. They're a damn good basketball team and have one of the best, I think there's a shooting guard, one of the best players in the nation, up for the Naismith Award. Got to watch this kid. He can drop 20 to 30 on you in a minute, a la Doug McDermott for what's the damn college? Never mind.
I know who you're talking about. Dougie McBuckets.
Dougie McBuckets, yeah.
Who's done nothing in the pros to this point.
Right, who we took care of last year. Creighton Blue Jays.
Yep.
But, yeah, it just contained him. But, yeah, that Utah game I've got circled on my calendar. I can't wait to record it. I'm going to listen to it at work anyway, but I want to go home, watch the replay, and knock on wood, we get that W before the Maui tournament.
Absolutely, and that brings up my next point. We got one more hitter, Bakersfield, Thursday, November 20th at 7:30 p.m. All three of these games are at Viejas. And I challenge you, the San Diego Sports Junkies fans, to get down to Viejas and watch this Aztecs team. You know, we've had some letdowns with the Padres. We've had some letdowns with the Chargers. But for the most part, this Aztecs basketball team over the last 5 to 7 years has not really let us down. Sure, they haven't got to the Final Four. Sure, they haven't won a national championship.
Damn Arizona.
But they've won their conference almost each and every time. They've won the tournament. They've gotten into the big dance, 5 years in a row?
It's 5 in a row, yep.
So, you know, they're a very, very exciting team to watch. High scoring, great defense. I challenge you to get down to Viejas this year and check them out, man. They are a prime ticket in San Diego. I mean, seriously, we're looking at the New Mexico game, which is, you know, I want to say January 6th, and I was looking at tickets about $98 for a seat, for one seat, to see an Aztec basketball game. So you tell me they aren't on this big stage, then I don't know what is. We got Mike has joined the conversation. Mike, sorry to not have you as part of the show, but I'm glad you're calling in during the Aztec section, buddy.
Oh, man, sorry I couldn't make it today, guys, but, you know, there's so many things I have to excuse myself from today. I would have probably blown the casket talking about the Chargers.
You did it for our sake, didn't you?
Oh, yeah, man. I want to keep this nice, clean, family-run show. So
I was just telling Josh, I was about to tell him that he was telling people to get down to Viejas. It's a great experience for those who just maybe watch Charger football and they don't really know much about the basketball team. I use the Aztec basketball season as my therapy from the Charger season when they let us down year by year, and the Padres who never get to be about 500. I use the Aztecs as my therapy in life because they actually get to the tournament and do some damage in the tournament. So that's what I like.
Yeah, I like that you said that, Josh, because it's right. The Aztecs, for the most part, never let us down. They rarely lose to the team that they're supposed to beat. You know, like Doug Gottlieb said, coffee for closers and acid love Java, you know? So it's totally true. I thought about that. They never let you down. They sure one game away, but when it comes to home game, if they're supposed to beat that team, you're going to see them get the W's, you know? So that's right. It's very great.
Absolutely. And, you know, since we have you on the line, you know, we broke from our quote-unquote inside source that Trey Kell has been slated as the starter at point guard. We kind of rattle off our starting five that included Trey Kell, J.J. O'Brien, Winston Shepard, Dwayne Poley, and Skylar Spencer. How excited are you to see the Aztecs, which unfortunately will be Friday, November 14th against Cal State Northridge on Fox Sports San Diego? How excited are you to finally see Aztecs on the court when it matters?
And also, Travis wants to know if you're on the shitter again.
No, but he was, too. I don't up the phone line every time I go on the shitter. I actually will be there on Friday to watch the Aztecs play.
Nice.
I'm sick today. I'm actually calling out work tomorrow, but I'll also be calling out on the 18th to watch them play against Utah at 1 o'clock.
Oh,
so
man.
I am beyond pumped.
Must be nice to be on welfare. Just do whatever you want and collect a check, huh? That's the way you roll?
I got my ass to take the footsteps.
And you wonder why our kids aren't getting a proper education. Well, there it is, folks.
That's why you told me you bought your tickets with your EBT card.
That's right.
Attaboy.
I'm shocked. I'm shocked about Trey Kell. I'm shocked that it's clear to get Stanford. Crazy. I know I was talking to a friend of mine, and he reminded me that somebody told you that the only way Cal starts is if you really good shooters. And I guess, the coaching staff really appreciates, his shooting, so it must be important. But I'm excited. I'm super pumped. I really feel we're gonna match last season, if not improve. I know Coach Fisher has been very cautious, saying it's hard to win 30 games, but with this schedule and with this roster, I don't know how the expectations can't be higher than last year.
Hey, yeah. SoCal Trav just chimed in for you, Mikey. He said, I'm paying Mike's rent. Fuck that.
Yeah, that's bullcrap, man. Everybody's pissed at you in the chat room now. It's BS, man. They're out for blood. Hey, Ron. Hey, Ron. There's a million San Diegonites out front. They want your blood.
I will tell Trump I don't drive a Volkswagen, so I think we're okay.
Oh man.
So, Mike, what? Obviously, we've talked about this Aztecs team, and Justin rattled off that we have an 11 strong that we can throw out there this year. Is there any particular player or maybe starting 5 that you would really be excited to see out on the floor?
Well, you guys already know, and my article's coming out tonight on this player. You know, I love me some Malik Pope.
Yep.
You guys know how much I love that kid. I think he's Kevin Durant 2.0. Call me crazy, but I can't wait to see that kid play. I'm really curious to see Dakari Allen and De'Aaron Williams. After the secret scrimmage, Dakari seemed really upbeat on Twitter. Like he had a positive game. I've heard some rumors that he didn't stand out, but he seemed like he thought it was positive. I know I talked to our friend Gavin, and we both agreed that it seemed like a good sign. And, it's funny, I wrote an article about De'Aaron Williams in the next bit, saying how glad I am he's finally healthy, and then he ends up being injured again. So that'll be a third player to watch. I will tell you one guy that I'm not big on, but I know Justin is Strictly. I don't know why. I don't know why.
I don't know why either, brother. He'd be stroking it from long range, brother, all day, money ball. That Papa John's 3-ball.
Hey, I tell you what, if Shrigley is a part of the second team that can come in and potentially be lights out from beyond the arc, what a weapon that he could be.
Oh yeah. Oh, if he's lights out, this thing could be amazing. I wrote a A.J. O'Brien article 2 days ago on SanDiegoSportsJunkies.com, and I thought depending on what position these guys are asked to play, could mean the difference between how good the team is. I mean, J.J. O'Brien, who averaged about 15 points per game before he hurt his hand, if he's averaging 15 points and is a third leading scorer, that means we're doing amazing. I mean, if he's a third leading scorer, we'll be doing outstanding.
Absolutely. Absolutely, brother. Hey, hold on. Hey, the guys in the chat room wanted me to cue the porn music for you, so I'm going to play a little music. Hold on.
Yeah, we got the porn music
going.
going.
There it's
yeah.
Magic Mike.
We got Magic Mike on the mic.
House. Magic Mike. Oh, bomb chicka bow wow. Here we go. Oh, here we go. Oh, wait, hold on. We still got the music going, Mike. You can't let us down now. We're gonna cue this up for a minute. Oh yeah.
Can I get some Careless Whistler, maybe, possibly?
That a boy. Use a proper two. That makes for a good video. All right, back to business at hand. Hey, so what are you looking for in this first upcoming game, brother? I know it's just an exhibition. But what would you like to see, and who would you like to see stand out in a positive way? Obviously positive. We don't want to be negative. But who are the standout guys? Give me 2 guys that you're really interested to see. Maybe how many rebounds, boards, and maybe points. Who do you think is going to have a nice little exhibition game this Friday?
There's a picture. There's a lot of things I want to see, but the first one is does Skylar Spencer become the rebounding machine he should be at 6'10"?
Mm-hmm.
I think he had like 4.8 rebounds a game last year. I know Josh Davis ripped everything in sight, but he's got to average more. At 6'10", he should be averaging about 9-10 rebounds a game. So is it going to be him or Chol?
Okay.
And then secondly, I want to see who's the primary scorer, who can hit that jump shot. Is it Dwayne Foley or Winston Shepard?
Right.
That's for 2 things to say. Who's the primary scorer on the team?
That's probably the biggest question going in, and besides the point guard duties, I agree with you. I think from what I hear, I heard Mark Ziegler talking today. He says Poli's jump shot's been more consistent, and he's just got so much height on it. He said there's nobody in the country that can block it, and the same goes for Winston. And you mentioned it, a very tall jump shot. Winston's problem, he just needs to be really a lot more consistent and live up to that billing that he came into San Diego State with.
Yeah, I will say, guys, when I met Foley over at the Aztec Time,
mm-hmm.
I mean, he looked confident. He had a little bit of, that attitude of, like, I'm the man, you know? in a good way. He looked like
You're the man, huh?
he looked like he's.
Is that going to be your entrance theme when you call in now? You're the man. You're the man. You're the man.
No, man, I'm not. But
that's another show.
That's not for here or there. But maybe Dwayne Foley. That's his. That'll be his walk up. Like WWE walk up music. That's Dwayne Foley's.
Yeah, you got to be pretty confident if you're running the "I'm the Man" songs.
Hey guys, one thing I was like very minuscule, but who do you think the last guy announced as a starter?
Who do we think the last guy is going to be?
So when they announce the starting five, who's going to be the final person they announce?
Yeah, who gets the biggest cheer at the end? Usually it was DJ Gay back in the day.
Dwayne Poley.
Favorite
Dwayne Poley.
I think Skylar Spencer brings the swag, and they like to get in that circle and dance a little bit. I think he's got that little swag going for him. I think Skies gets the biggest cheers.
Yeah. Hey guys, one last question before I let you go. Is Jason here today, or did I miss him?
No, Jason had to run his daughter to a little cheer recital or something. So
you got to remember, Jason's 40. He's a man. He has children.
Right. He's not on welfare like yourself. He doesn't sit at home and slack off.
He's not fortunate like us, where we have a little more leniency on our schedule.
Oh, man.
All right, sounds good, guys.
All right, God. Hey, thanks for calling in, Mike Maciejewski, San Diego Sports Junkie. All right, buddy.
Sounds good. I'll see you later.
Later, buddy.
Later, brother. So, guys, we're going to wind this down. Just keep in mind, following that Bakersfield matchup, is the EA Sports Maui Invitational.
Yep.
It is a monster event each and every year. They house some of the top talent in the nation, and the Aztecs are going to be part of that tournament. Chance to face off against BYU, who used to be their arch nemesis. As well, they'll either face off in the second round against either Pitt or Chaminade, and then it will finish up on November 26th. Will be the championship game, which is to be determined. That is Wednesday, November 26th. Again, the San Diego Sports Junkies want to challenge you to get down to Viejas and check out the Aztecs men's basketball squad. Yep. It is worth the money. I guarantee it. The atmosphere that the show puts on, it's worth the money.
That in itself is worth the price of admission. The show going crazy. Quick guys. Thanks for everybody in the chat room, man. The chat room each week has been getting better and better, growing each and every week with guys like SoCal Trav and the rest of the gang calling in, doing your thing. You guys make this show because it's a fan show. We don't claim to be anything cool, so we don't know, and we're not experts up here. We're just talking crap just like you would to a buddy. So we appreciate the support. SanDiegoSportsJunkies.com. Check out all of our newest blogs, articles. Get in the fan forums. Sign up as a member. You'll get all the alerts, what we're doing, new locations for shows, remote locations. And we just appreciate your contributions, guys. It's been a great past like 3 or 4 months for us, and we just continue to build because it's you guys, and we're just having a lot of fun doing it.
Absolutely, guys. So this is the San Diego Sports Junkies, a show for fans
by the fans,
and we are out.
Tech till I die, and I'm already alumni. Black, red, I believe that we enough said. Win, cut down nets. AZTEC got next. Let them play, home team all day. Work hard like Coach Fish say. Aztecs, what's up? IBELIEVE, IBELIEVE. Aaron Arbe, Chris Ryan, gotta show love. What? Young Y33, J-Tub, Black, red, I believe that we enough said. Win, cut down nets. AZTEC got next. Let them play.
Thank you for listening to the San Diego Sports Junkies, a show for fans by the fans. Brought to you by Cali Comfort, home of the low and slow barbecue, and SK Digital Imaging with Josh Taylor, Justin Smead, Jason Eidsmoe, and Mike Maciejewski. Subscribe to us on iHeartRadio, on Spreaker, and on iTunes. Visit SanDiegoSportsJunkies.com for all your Chargers, Padres, and Aztecs news.